What's up, guys? This is Chris from DraftDashboard.com. Here are my DFS picks for NBA Wednesday, September 2nd. These picks apply for DraftKings and FanDuel. Before I get started, please drop a like on this video and hit that red subscribe button and hit that bell icon so you don't miss our new videos. In this video, I'm going to go over my top picks for today's NBA slate. And if you stick around to the very end of this video, we'll use the Draft Dashboard tools to make a DFS lineup using the picks we just made. Okay guys, NBA playoffs. Let's take a look at this 2-game main slate. So at the point guard position, I like Chris Paul from the Oklahoma City Thunder playing the Houston Rockets, who have the 6th worst defense overall, and they're middle of the pack defending opposing point guards. Chris Paul has averaged 36.6 fantasy points per game on the season, playing an average of 32 minutes per game with a 24% usage rate. He's projected at 39.3 fantasy points here tonight. That's 4.8 times value. He's $8,200 FanDuel salary and the same price on DraftKings. Now he scored 50, 27, and 44 fantasy points in the last 3 games, so he's got that 40, 50 point upside. He can definitely get you 5 times value or more. Vegas thinks there's going to be 217.5 points scored in this game, so I like Chris Paul here versus the Houston Rockets. The other point guard that I like, this guy's been on fire. I like Goran Dragic from the Miami Heat playing the Milwaukee Bucks, who have a middle-of-the-pack defense overall, and they're pretty good versus opposing point guards. But Goran Dragic has averaged 27.7 fantasy points per game on the season, playing an average of 28 minutes per game with a 26% usage rate. But take a look at his last 3 games. He scored 43, 35, and 41 fantasy points, playing 33, 35, and 35 minutes. So his minutes per game are up, his production is up. He's projected at 35.4 fantasy points here tonight. That's 5.2 times value. He's $6,800 DraftKings salary and 100 more on DraftKings. I'm sorry, he's 68 FanDuel salary and 100 more on DraftKings. And Vegas thinks there's going to be 221 points scored in this game, so I like Goran Dragic here versus the Milwaukee Bucks. Okay, let's take a look at the shooting guard position. I like James Harden from the Houston Rockets playing the Oklahoma City Thunder, who have a good defense overall, and they're middle of the pack defending opposing shooting guards. James Harden has averaged 57.1 fantasy points per game on the season, playing an average of 37 minutes per game with a 36% usage rate. He's projected at 54.6 fantasy points here tonight. That's 4.8 times value, but we know this guy has 60, 70 point upside. He can break a slate. He's $11,400 FanDuel salary and 200 less on DraftKings. So I like James Harden here versus the Oklahoma City Thunder. The other shooting guard I like is Jimmy Butler from the Miami Heat playing the Milwaukee Bucks, who have a middle-of-the-pack defense overall, and they've been middle-of-the-pack defending opposing shooting guards. Jimmy Butler has averaged 41.8 fantasy points per game on the season, playing an average of 34 minutes per game with a 25% usage rate. He scored 54 fantasy points in 36 minutes last game with a 34% usage rate. He's projected at 41.9 fantasy points here tonight. That's 4.7 times value because he's $9,000 FanDuel salary, but he's $700 less on DraftKings. So I love that DraftKings price. Vegas thinks there's going to be 221 points scored in this game, so I like Jimmy Butler here versus the Milwaukee Bucks. Okay, let's take a look at the small forward position. Now, this is somewhat of a risky play. He wasn't doing very well the last few games, but he came on last game, scored 39 fantasy points in 28 minutes last game, so I'm going to give him a chance here tonight. I like Danilo Gallinari from the Oklahoma City Thunder playing the Houston Rockets, who have the 6th worst defense overall, and they give up the absolute most fantasy points to opposing small forwards. Danilo Gallinari has averaged 28.9 fantasy points per game on the season, playing an average of 30 minutes per game with a 25% usage rate. He's projected at 27 fantasy points here tonight. That's 4.7 times value. He's 5,800 FanDuel salary and 300 more on DraftKings. So I think this is a play for me. It's just going to be for some salary relief. It's hard to find these good mid-range players around 5,000-6,000 salary here. And I think he's earned back some of his playing time with his performance last game. So I like Danilo Gallinari here versus the Houston Rockets. Real quick, guys, I got great news. For a limited time, we're offering a full 30-day trial to Draft Dashboard. You can try all of our DFS tools for all sports. You can try the Position Optimizer, where you can see the top players ranked for each position. And we added a new Player Trends tool, where you can see the top salary differences between FanDuel and DraftKings. It's a really good tool to help you pick out value for the site that you're playing on. Oh, and if you're tired of doing research every day, we just added a cheat sheet that shows hand-picked plays for the slate. No confusing stat lines, no headaches, just a simple cheat sheet that shows the absolute best players for your lineups. Okay, here's a value play for you. I like Darius Bazley from the Oklahoma City Thunder playing the Houston Rockets, who give up the 6th most fantasy points overall, and we know they're not good versus opposing small forwards. Darius Bazley has averaged 13.9 fantasy points per game on the season, playing an average of 19 minutes per game with a 15% usage rate. But take a look at his last 3 games here. He scored 22, 28, and 12 fantasy points in his last 3 games, playing 22, 25, and 18 minutes. So his minutes are up, his production is up. He's projected at 17.7 fantasy points here tonight. That's 4.9 times value. He's only 3,600 FanDuel salary and 300 more on DraftKings. So I love that FanDuel price. So I like Darius Bazley here versus the Houston Rockets. Okay, who do we have at the power forward position? I like Bam Adebayo from the Miami Heat playing the Milwaukee Bucks, who have a middle-of-the-pack defense overall. They've been middle of the pack defending opposing power forwards. Bam Adebayo has averaged 40.3 fantasy points per game on the season, playing an average of 34 minutes per game with a 21% usage rate. He's projected at 37.2 fantasy points here tonight. That's 4.7 times value. You could probably bump that up to about 40 fantasy points and 5 times value because he scored 45, 46, and 40 fantasy points in the last 3 games. He's 8,000 FanDuel salary and 100 less on DraftKings. Vegas thinks there's going to be 221 points scored in this game, so I like Bam Adebayo here versus the Milwaukee Bucks. The other powered forward that I like, this guy's been fantastic the last couple of games. I like Robert Covington from the Houston Rockets playing the Oklahoma City Thunder, who have a good defense overall, and they've been good versus opposing power forwards. Robert Covington has averaged 29.7 fantasy points per game on the season, playing an average of 31 minutes per game with a 17% usage rate. He's projected at 30.1 fantasy points here tonight. That's 4.8 times value, but he scored 47 and 43 fantasy points in the last 2 games. I think he can keep that production up. He's 6,300 FanDuel salary and 400 less on DraftKings. So I love that DraftKings price. So I like Robert Covington here versus the Oklahoma City Thunder. Okay, moving on to the center position. I like Brook Lopez from the Milwaukee Bucks playing the Miami Heat, who have a good defense overall, and they've been good versus opposing centers. Brook Lopez has averaged 27.8 fantasy points per game on the season, playing an average of 27 minutes per game with an 18% usage rate. He's projected at 26 fantasy points here tonight. Could probably bump that up a little bit. He scored 33, 30, and 28 fantasy points in the last 3 games. He's $5,700 FanDuel salary and $200 less on DraftKings. So I like Brook Lopez here versus the Miami Heat. Okay, the other center I like is Steven Adams from the Oklahoma City Thunder playing the Houston Rockets, who have the 6th worst defense overall, and they're middle of the pack defending opposing centers. Steven Adams has averaged 29.6 fantasy points per game on the season, playing an average of 27 minutes per game with a 17% usage rate. He's projected at 27.8 fantasy points here tonight. That's 5.1 times value. He's $5,500 FanDuel salary and $200 more on DraftKings. So I like Steven Adams here versus the Houston Rockets.
If you want to try all these daily fantasy tools for yourself, click the link in the description below this video or just go to draftdashboard.com. You can use our DFS lineup optimizer to build quality lineups using our picks and your own custom player pool. Click the link in the description below this video and try all these daily fantasy tools right now. Thanks so much for watching. Oh, and don't forget to subscribe to this channel and hit that bell icon so you can get instant updates whenever we post a new video.
Thank you so much for watching, everyone. If you enjoyed this video, please smash that like button and subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. Oh, and please comment below with your favorite player for this NBA slate. I love to hear what you guys have to think. Thanks again, and good luck.